Okay, so I understand I might sound like what my stepson calls an emotional jerk with some of these jokes, but let me be clear, my wife has earned every single one of them. Remember at the beginning I said that the meaner you are to me, the more I want you in my life. And I married her. So let's go over this. So this is an actual conversation my wife and I had, and it is public. It is posted on Instagram if you want to verify any of this. A few months ago, I was in a comedy competition on this stage, and out of 15 comedians, I came in first place. Very excited about that, right? Thanks, 12 people. Your support sustains me. If it was any less people, I would have thrown my rock. I was walking out of here feeling very good about coming in first place, and I sent a text to my wife letting her know that I had won. Her response to me, just because you came in first doesn't mean you're a winner. I did not reply. To which she said, whoops, there it goes. Just oh, no clever response, funny man? I guess we know who the real comedian in the family is. You will stop cheering for her in a minute. What was that? Sorry, stop mumbling. What? Dump her? No. You ever made an Italian woman mad? Neither have I. I'm not going to. I said, I'm sorry I'm not clever enough to post other people's TikTok videos like you. She said, I appreciate that you finished this comeback while sitting on the couch instead of helping me clean the kitchen. My priority level is understood. I said, I appreciate that you're doing the dishes at your sister's house because our sink remains full. She said, at least my sister respects me, and unlike you, she's good at what she does because she is a winner. I said, she's a middle child. She wins nothing. She said, someday I'm going to tell our middle child what you just said about middle children. I said, because like all good moms, you use your children as leverage. Here we go. She said, why don't you ask your mom? Oh, wait, you can't, because my mom... You cheered for her. You thought I was Putin. Now you realize I'm Ukraine. I'm just fighting back, okay? I said, I guess that's why I married an older woman. I'm just missing mom. She said, before you sass me, check your email. That is a terrifying sentence to read. Clearly, she has an ace up her sleeve. I checked the email, and in the email, there is a confirmation receipt for me to go see my favorite comedian. This was a very expensive ticket. I thought the show was sold out, didn't think it was possible, and there it was. I was going to see my favorite comedian. She wins. The only thing I've won is a lifetime supply of giving foot rubs, because there's no way I'm coming back from this. But because I know I've lost, I might as well say one more thing. Thank you so much for getting me these tickets. I can't believe you did this. This is amazing. I love you so much. Thank you so much again for buying these tickets with my paycheck. Dynamic Wit Comedy Podcast. Thank you for listening. My name is Chase. This is my podcast, and what you just heard me reading right there on stage is an absolutely 100% true interaction between my wife and I, which we've done it before, and we'll do it again, where we just insult the hell out of each other, and we do it in a relatively public form where it's usually posted on Instagram back and forth. And my favorite is someone will always reach out to my wife or I and say, hey, are you guys okay? That was kind of brutal. That was a little bit dark. I assure you, if you ever see us doing those kind of conversations and posting it, we are never better. Part of the biggest foundation of our relationship and why it works is our ability to just talk shit on each other. And we do it in a really fun way, and it's loving to us. What you might not understand is that each one of those messages that was sent back and forth, we were pretty much in the same room, sitting on the same couch the entire time. And we'd say, oh, I'm about to say this. Like, we know what was going on. So it's fine. Yeah, it's a little dark. It's a little unconventional. And you know what? It's also hilarious. That's also why we work so well together, because I can insult her and she can insult me as good, if not better, than anyone I've ever met. Now, her birthday is coming up. March 27th is her birthday. She's going to be 45. And the best way to honor her was to play you a recording like we did at the beginning of this, and show you exactly why I love hers, because she has a great sense of humor. And yes, she did buy me a ticket to go see Bill Burr. This was back in 2022. And I went by myself because she hates Bill Burr. But because she knows that I love Bill Burr and she loves me, she bought me that ticket. And I am forever grateful. So, happy birthday to my wife, 45 years of furious fighting bullshit. All right, here's the deal. Yes, it's a little bit dark, but life of a comedian, a lot of it is spent in the dark. Even the cleanest comedian, I'm talking Jim Gaffigan, Nate Bargatze, Jerry Seinfeld, Brian Regan, and you can confirm this by listening to almost any podcast interview they've done. They've all got a sense of darkness about them. I don't think you can survive in the world of comedy, or even in the world in general, without being okay with darkness. There's darkness all over the place in the world. Watch the news for 6 minutes, learn about the most recent school shooting or some sort of protest against violence. Even those positive stories are about people who have overcome darkness, people who've overcome cancer, people who've overcome accidents or abuse. There is darkness all over the place. And in more of a literal sense of darkness, most of a comedian's life when there's a show is spent in the dark. When you're waiting to go on stage, you're standing in the dark shadows behind the stage or in the back of the room waiting to be called on. And it's dark. And then you get on stage and that bright light hits you and you're lit up and everything. But that light is so bright you can't really see anything. You know what you're staring into? Darkness. You're looking at darkness the whole time you're on the stage to where the crowd is at. So like I said, it's no wonder that comedians, whether they are dirty or dark on stage or clean and happy on stage, they have to be okay with a certain level of darkness in their life in order to really succeed. And I think it's that way in life. I went to an open mic the other night at the Station 2 pub here in town. It's this old firehouse they've converted into a little sports bar, and it's a fun atmosphere. And it was dark. And the stage wasn't lit, and it was dark. And some of the jokes being tossed around were dark. From me, from Rhett, from Stefan, from Ethan, there was a lot of dark jokes in a very dark room. And I loved it. All of us bombed. None of us did well, but there's this sense of belonging in those situations. Sorry for my nose. It's March and
allergies are in full swing for me for the next 6 to 7 weeks. Anyways, and while I was at open mic, trying out some new jokes, there was this other kind of life lesson that occurred to me. All right. I'm wrong a lot, especially with jokes. You go to open mic so you can test these new jokes or materials that you have, and you try and throw them out there and see if they work. And it's just because they don't work in front of one crowd doesn't mean they won't work in another one. I used to tell this joke about a time I went to a Mexican food restaurant and they were out of rice. And it really upset me that a Mexican food restaurant could run out of rice, because running out of rice is literally the hardest thing you could do. And I understand that complaining about a Mexican food restaurant running out of rice is a first world problem. Of course it's a first world problem, because running out of rice doesn't even happen in the third world countries. That's how hard it is to run out of rice. And then I would always tag it, because this was at the time when idiots were at full swing doing internet challenges, eating Tide Pods. And I'd say, you know what happens to a country that runs out of rice? They eat Tide, which we are the only country in the world to ever run out of rice. And we are the only country in the world that has to put on a laundry detergent to not eat it. So again, not a very funny joke, but in my mind it was funny. And I tried that joke for years, at least 10 or 12 different shows, and it never worked. I was wrong. And other times I'm right. But a lot of times your first instincts as a human, as a comedian, whatever, a lot of times they're wrong. It also applies to when I meet someone. I've talked about this before in the past, and I talked with George Dutson a few episodes ago. And the reason I interviewed George was honestly because I didn't like him. Because I have this thing in my brain where if everyone loves something or someone, I automatically decide not to. Everyone told me when I got home from my mission how good the Jason Bourne movies were. And everyone told me in high school how cool and awesome that the Fast and the Furious movies were. And everyone told me how great the Lord of the Rings movies were. Well, because everyone told me how awesome these things were, guess what? When I watched them, I knew I wasn't going to like them. I didn't give them a fair chance, which is why I can tell you all three of those movie series in my brain are complete and total ass. And not the good, sexy kind of ass. I'm talking about the heavy humidity swamp ass that you know just stinks. I don't like any second of any of those movies. And I'm probably wrong for feeling that way. I'm that way with the whole Marvel comic book movies. I used to like them, and then they've grown so big in the world that I'm superheroed out. I'm just done. I can't go to a movie theater with people who applaud when a character shows up. It drives me insane. I didn't want to like the movie Wicked because everyone told me how bad it was going to be. It turns out I freaking loved it. And I watch Wicked all the time. With George, I interviewed him because everyone told me how fun and awesome George was. So the first time I met him, I was annoyed at how happy he was just to be able to play a board game. Why am I that kind of douchebag that gets mad at someone for doing something that they love? Typically, and this was years ago, and I've really worked hard to overcome that, because I understand that people are who they are, and I've learned to appreciate people's passion. So I decided to interview George, and as soon as I had that conversation with George, my entire view of him flipped, and he is one of the best human beings I've ever met. Because I realize mostly the people I don't like are people I've never actually taken time to sit down and have a conversation with. Yes, there are exceptions to the rule. There's people in this life who, if they died, I wouldn't shed a single tear. My reaction would be like, oh man, they died? Okay, what time's the game tonight? There are a small group of people I feel that way about. And it's people who I have gotten to know, and I got to know their character enough, then that's just kind of how I feel. It takes a lot of work to get on that list, I can tell you that it's a very exclusive club with less than 5 members, but all 5 of those members earn their way onto that list. So why am I bringing this up? Because of how divisive the world is right now and how people are defined by little things. People are defined by who they vote for. People are defined if they're a Republican or a Democrat, which is essentially saying you're defined by a donkey or an elephant. Dumbest animals ever. I mean, I love animals and elephants aren't dumb, but why in the hell are the donkey and an elephant the symbols of the Republican and Democratic parties? People are judged based off of whether or not they have a college degree. People are judged based off of how they might dress. If they wear designer clothes, they are judged whether or not, how they're groomed. I'm not the most perfectly groomed person. My beard gets really shaggy, and I also often have bedhead or hat hair. It's just part of it. I'm not saying, I mean, my wife always says, don't judge me. And I said, I do judge you, and that's why I married you. Anytime someone says, don't judge me, I always just want to be like, well, don't judge me for judging you. And that's just the point. Everyone is a hypocrite. Everyone. Everyone has some sort of hypocrisy about them, and whether they want to admit it or not, I can't do anything about that. Here's what I'm really getting at, though, is people in life make decisions based on what's best for them. With my religious upbringing and my current beliefs within my religion now, it is a very unpopular opinion within my church for me to be an advocate in a safe space for people of the LGBTQ plus community. When in reality is both can be true. I can have my faith in my religion and also be a good, kind person showing love and support for someone who might be transitioning, or someone who might be gay, or someone who might not know what orientation they are. And you know why it's okay? Because in this life, after this life, if you believe in a God, I don't think when you die and you go up and God asks you about your life, if you believe that's what happens, he's not going to ask you about anyone else's life. I think he might ask you, did you help make someone's life better? Did you help people feel safe and happy? I honestly believe that. I have relatives and people very close to me who are gay or trans or bi or figuring this stuff out. And one of the best compliments I can give them is that I never ask them why they are like that, because I don't care why. What I care about is that people who I love themselves. Because if someone doesn't love themselves, then it's really not possible for them to love someone else. And it's everyone just deserves to be happy. Everyone. I think one of the best lessons my parents ever taught me was when I was 7 years old and one of our really good family friends came out of the closet and they were gay. That they admitted to everyone they were gay. And my mom's reaction was, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. They never told me it was wrong how Paul was living his life. They taught me that we love people no matter what. And I honestly believe love is a word that is missing all too often in this world, which, as I alluded to in the beginning, is a very dark world. But even in the darkest of rooms, if you light the smallest match or the smallest candle, that light will be visible no matter where you're at in that dark room. So it's up to you. Do you want to be the darkness shutting the door and shutting the windows and locking people out? Or do you want to be in the room, the one in the room holding the candle, giving just a little bit of light that might offer some sort of hope or joy or relief in someone's life. Because they're not going to get that very many places in such a dark world. So anyway, that is today's episode. And yes, a lot of how I feel is also the reason my wife and I get along, is because we both feel the same way about this pretty passionately. So rather than getting mad or judging someone for how they live, maybe just show them love and wish them luck, because their life has nothing to do with you. So hope you enjoyed today's episode. Happy birthday to my wife. And happy whatever day it is you're listening to this. Hope you enjoyed it.